Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer number LB4310C-400-600. This is a single-acting spring hinge, full mortise, what's called a contract grade, and we'll go over that in a moment. Lube bearing, steel-based, prime-coated 4x4 spring hinge. So let's dissect that part number. So first of all, LB stands for a maintenance-free concealed bearing system by Bommer. The 4310, all of that conspires to say a lot of things. Well, the 4310 and the C. First of all, it says that it is a full mortise hinge. You can see that when the hinge, based on the swag on the hinge leaves, that when the door is closed or the leaves brought parallel, they're intended to be mortised flush to the edge of the door and the frame. The 4310C also means that it is a template pattern on the screw holes, a typical commercial ANSI pattern, American National Standards Institute pattern for the screw holes. And speaking of screw holes, screws are included. Sometimes most of the time they're in a prime coat to match the 600 prime finish. Sometimes they're chrome, but all metal, all wood screws are going to be included. That part number also means that the hinge is 130 thousandths of an inch leaf thickness, which is typical for contract grade or standard duty hinges versus a residential hinge that would be about 35 thousandths thinner in the gauge of the leaf. It is a single acting spring hinge, 4x4. The 400 means specifically that it's 4 inches tall and 4 inches wide. The height goes first on a hinge like this. You'd say 4 tall, 4 wide. 600 is prime coat. That is just a primed finish intended to be painted. Available in several different architectural finishes. There is a link below this video to the template. Now the template shows everything important dimensionally about the hinge, specifically where the screw holes are located. So if you're not sure where they are or what you're matching it to, by all means refer to the template. Then all the other dimensions we've covered. There's also a link to the installation instructions, and it's most likely that the hinge you're going to get, but not always, will come in a box and it will have the installation instructions on the back. But if you don't get them, there's a link below this video. Now let's talk about this single acting spring hinge. First of all, it's intended for doors, depending on how many hinges you're going to use. 85-pound doors, 3 foot by 7 foot, 2 spring hinges. If you're going heavier, 110-pound door, which is possible, 3 spring hinges. 3070 is the maximum size, regardless. I'm a fan of all spring hinges, and here's why. When I have noticed that a door, or if I've had to perform maintenance on or installation of spring hinges on a door, the quantity of spring hinges is underpowered given the size or weight or both of the door, I have found a significantly less reliable performance from the door in terms of actually closing. Now, where people are using spring hinges are generally just installations where they want the door to close after them, but it's also used more commonly as a code requirement where you have a fire-rated wood door hung in a frame, typically residential. The inspector comes through as the house is being built. That door must be self-closing. When you've got 1 spring hinge and you should have 2, or 2 and you should have 3, you're going to find that you've got to set the tension so high on the spring when the door is open to have the tension so high just to get the door moving, to build up enough inertia so that it can actually reach the closing cycle, not only overcome all the air pressure that it's hitting, encountering, but overcome the friction of the latch bolt striking the lip of the strike plate. When you add an additional hinge or 2 additional hinges, you can share that load amongst all of those springs, not have to set them up so significantly, and then at the end of the closing cycle, there's still enough stored energy in those springs to get the job done without having to get it moving very fast. It's like I liken it to a tugboat. They don't go very fast, but they can pull a lot of weight, and torque is what you need. And I liken it, while it's not, I suppose, torque, you have enough residual stored energy to get the job done so that you can not have the door slam, causing premature wear and tear on door frame, wall, or getting it to a point where in changing air conditions, winter, summer, in the summer you could have someone in a condo building with the back door open, wind races through and it'll slam the door. So you have to adjust that differently. More spring hinges gives you a more reliable amount of closing. Now, how you go about setting it, you're going to get with your package a tension rod, which is just a piece of black steel, and you're going to get a tension pin. And there it is. It's a little silver pin. What you do is you take your tension rod, and when the hinge is installed with this tension collar pointed towards the top, you know what the top is because the tension collar is only on one end. You insert the tension rod into the tension collar and turn it clockwise. And as you do that, you can see I reveal new additional holes, and it's into one of those holes that you insert the pin. 3-hole maximum is generally what they recommend. So you crank it over, set your pin in, and that'll hold tension on the spring. That's how you go about setting the tension. You know, be very conservative with it. You can go about then testing your installation to make sure that it works properly. This can be used on left-hand or right-hand doors, completely not handed. Okay. Last thing I'd like to show you there is the Bommer logo. It says right above it, Made in USA, a fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to represent them. Any questions on the Bommer LB4310C-400-600, single-acting spring hinge, or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.